hear me out, man. Psychology is a necessary prerequisite to understanding spirituality. Now, when you're going on this path of spirituality, when you're getting to these topics, when you're understanding universal truths and just overall deeper esoteric knowledge, you got to come back down to psychology to really grasp these type of concepts and make it applicable in practical ways into your daily lives. Because, as you know, spirituality, religion, faith, philosophy, all that stuff can get real just over the top to the point where you don't even understand what the fuck is going on, what the fuck is even being said, what is a lesson that this book or this teacher or this just overall message is trying to tell me. And that all boils down to you understanding the inner workings of your own psyche. Because I've said this before on this channel, on the main channel, your body is the vehicle to operate on this plane. Your mind is the steering wheel to move that vehicle around. And your soul, the spirit, is the driver's seat, making all the turns, calling all the shots. So when it comes to just understanding spirituality, we need to know our psychology and our mind more, in a sense to where it acts as a connecting point to the spirit world, spiritual realms, and here in the tangible physical realm, the material world. So if you don't have that link in between the two, your body is not going to be able to comprehend and actually understand the topics that these higher spiritual teachings are giving you. So when you really put it all together and you get that psychology in line and you start understanding your own mind, the inner workings of it, you're going to be able to have a streamline flow of just entry of all these types of universal downloads and just all these type of teachings that really make an impact on your life, on the physical world, because the spirit is what starts everything off. Like I said, it's the driver of it. What starts at the spirit is what is the start of everything, all creation. Doesn't matter what it is, your thoughts, the ground, the trees, the music, the voice, all that stuff starts in the spiritual level first. Why? Because it's higher vibrational over there. Then it slowly descends and fractalizes and materializes into your mind, into the mental, into the psychological, and then the mind then operates in the physical world. So like I just said, the driver, steering wheel, car, spirit, mind, body. That is how this whole chain of reactions go. So if you're missing that link, like I just said, that will put those two together, how are you ever going to understand spirituality? How are you ever going to understand how to use these lessons into your life? So what do we need to do to understand psychology? Well, you can go read psychology books. The reason I'm saying psychology and all these things because I understood psychology before I really even started getting into spirituality. In high school, I took the advanced placement, advanced placement psychology class. That's probably one of the only classes I enjoyed in high school, because you're understanding how your mind is projecting all these types of things that you are you're experiencing on the physical world. Because we have five gates of understanding the world. Our five physical senses: our eyes to see, our hands and body to touch, our ears to hear, our tongue and mouth to taste, our nose to smell. Those are the ways you interact with this world. I don't care how spiritual you get, you still are going to be able to have to work in this realm. And the mind is what takes all that information from the five gates, formulates something, and projects it out in front of you. The way you're watching this video of me is going to be completely different about how the next guy perceives this video. That is your psychology, that's your brain. You have certain attributes to it that are completely unique and different from everybody else. Same with your spirit and soul. Even though the soul is all is one and one is all, there's different aspects of the all. That's why I personally really enjoy polytheistic religions like Hinduism, Greek mythology, all these types of things, because in my perspective, these are all emanations and all different aspects of the one Godhead, the one spirit, the one soul that governs everything that's in part of me, you, everything else around you see, the trees, all that stuff. It all emanates from that. It's just different aspects and variations of it. So your mind, your psyche is completely linked to a higher dimensional infinite intelligence, if you want to call it that, cosmic consciousness, whatever floats your boat, whatever scratches your back, that's what it is, bro. Like, your mind is all connected to that, but it's a slight tweaks so you can view a perspective of that expansive all in your own unique way. And like I said, if you start reading these books about psychology and you start implementing the understandings of these things into your daily life, the spiritual teachings are gonna flow way more easily. Because it's very hard for some people, even like myself. Like, I'm very logical, and if you want to get into other deeper esoteric type of stuff, my life path number is a 4. 4 is very boxed in. It's an earth sign. The earth is symbolized by the cube, 4 corners. Life path 4, law and order. All these things got to make sense to me. It's got to be logical. And on the zodiac sign, Taurus is very down to earth, earth sign, very logical, very all these things. So for me personally, even understanding this type of things like astrology or like numerology, even though I don't put too much merit into it unless we get into the real deal versions of it, not like the fucking shit you see on Snapchat and these girls talking about it online, the real deal ancient wisdom when it comes to astrology and numerology, it was hard for me to wrap my head around it. The only thing that helped me was psychology, was understanding my own psyche, was understanding that all these things are emanations from my own mind. My mind is painting the picture of reality. The spirit is acting upon the mind, and then that mind is acting upon the physical. It always goes in that order. But if I'm trying to redirect and trace the steps back, why did this happen in my life? Why do I feel like this? Why are things going that way? Trace back the physical, goes back to the mental, psychological aspect, and then it goes up into another degree, spiritual. You're not gonna be able to get up to that point where the root of it all happens if you don't understand this middle point, the middleman in between the two. One person when I was reading into psychology, and I still do to this day, is Carl Jung. Yes, there's Freud. They taught us about Freud in that psychology class I told you about. But it's when Carl Jung's later work, he bridges a gap in between those two, like the Red Book, mysticism and psychology and spirituality all put together. It starts to make sense. It's not so woo-woo, oh man, they're doing this, they're doing that. There's alchemy, there's hermetics, there's this. Sometimes it does not make sense. And if you don't get the point it's trying to give you, like, you're kind of just wasting your time. Psychology is going to bridge that gap in between the two. And then, like I said, apply it to the physical. So that is an author I definitely recommend. But for more practical steps to understanding your own psychology, journaling, bro. Journaling is probably what's gonna show you your inner psyche more than everything. And I don't want you to do any type of journal prompts. I don't want you to do like some journaling technique. I want you to sit down like you're taking a dump, you're taking a shit, and just let all that stuff in your mind dump out into the piece of paper. Vomit out into the piece of paper, bro. Like, just let everything that's in your mind, and it might not even make sense. It might not make a single sense to your logical mind, but that's the unconscious, that's the subconscious finally letting go, finally being able to express itself. And the subconscious is, the deeper you get into that, is the link to the spiritual world. That's why when you dream, and I'll make a whole video topic about dreaming on this channel, don't worry, because that goes hand in hand with psychology and spirituality. That subconscious is what's activated in your dream state, in that spiritual state, in those trance states, even deep meditation states. You get into that point. The subconscious is taking over the conscious. So if you're just letting the subconscious finally blurt out onto a piece of paper and your conscious mind can't decipher it at the moment, you do it more times than enough, you're going to see certain patterns, you're going to see certain links, you're going to see certain just things that keep coming up when you do these journal prompts. And if you do them, I'm not promoting nothing like this, but if you do them under the influence of certain things that get you tapped in more into your subconscious mind, psychedelics, weed, all this stuff like that, like, I'm not recommending that, but if you do that, it's going to come out even more, and you're going to see those connecting dots you can put together and eventually formulate a blueprint to understand how you can map out the spiritual world that is really governing everything in existence. These more metaphysical laws, these more metaphysical motherfuckers driving over me, flying over me, more metaphysical aspects of the nature of life. So journaling, reading about psychology, those two practical steps, perfect. Another thing, you've probably heard about this before, and it kind of goes with both anyways, shadow work. Shadow work is those repressed parts of your subconscious need to come out. And it's not going to come out by journaling, just journaling itself, because you really got to dig in deep. You got to, in some way, shape, or form, like I said, Carl Jung talks about this, active imagination, all these type of things, the shadow self. You got to do some form of almost like time travel. If this even, like, that's what I'm saying, you need to understand psychology and spirituality to get these type of concepts. Almost like time travel back to certain very highly emotional states of your life that, like, left a scar in your psyche, and you've been patching it up with duct tape, you've been patching it up with band-aids, you've been patching it up with like just cover-up work, but the symptom is still there. Those things really relate back to your childhood. So I said that your inner child. On this channel, there's a video about it. Your inner child will show you what your purpose is, will show you higher, deeper knowledge, but you have to tap back into it. And you've been too scared sometimes to go back into it because you have those scarred PTSD moments, maybe, if you want to take it that far, that you've kind of like thrown in the back of your closet, and you're just like, I don't want to deal with it. Those deeper parts of your psyche are going to show you a lot of connection into the spirit world. And that spirit world is, again, what's manifesting out here. Why does your life always seem like you're stuck in a certain position? Well, your brain is stuck in a certain gear because your spirit is holding, you have a blockage to the spirit with these scars in your psyche. The shadow is it's always going to be a part of you, but once you integrate it, when you integrate those repressed parts of your memories, your emotions, your this and that, your psychology is going to become complete. And when those connections and those neural pathways become complete, then you're going to be able to have a wider perspective, a more universal perspective of life in general. So those are the three things I got to say are the most important when it comes to understanding psychology. Get into psychology, obviously, in the first part. Understand these parts of your mind. Understand, like, if you want to work out, you're going to understand, okay, elbow flexion is going to work the biceps. Elbow extension is going to work the triceps. Okay, if I want to work on my shoulders, I'm going to do a vertical press. If I'm going to work on my lats more, I'm going to keep my elbow tucked in closer to my body so I bias the lats more on my back movements. All these types of things you know about the body, the anatomy, the physiology of it, to work on building muscle. You got to do the same thing when it comes to your mind, and that is psychology. And further on into that you're going to open up the gate and open up the doors to higher spiritual knowledge. So there's no wonder why a lot of people nowadays, in my opinion, are very analytical and very scientific and very psychological, but they lack the spiritual. You can either go two different ways. Like back in the day, ancient times, I don't think they had as good of an understanding of the psychology. Nowadays we do, but we have lacked the understanding of the spirituality, the mystic side. The side that cannot be shown to us by tests and studies and bullshit like that. And back then, they were lacking the actual concrete evidence that science and all these psychological aspects can provide, but they were just very woo-woo. That's why we sometimes look at them like, bro, they're just fucking, they're on drugs, bro. Like, what are they talking about, man? Like, if you blend the two, you become elite, bro. You become elite. That's why you see a lot of people, when they blend the two together, religion, spirituality, faith, philosophy, psychology, the inner psyche, like, not even guys like Jung, like let's say another one, Neville Goddard. He's blending in the two together, and it makes sense if you read his books, but he's grabbing from the spiritual side of things and the psychological side of things, putting them two together to where you can understand it and apply it and actually produce positive benefits from them. Because let's say if you want to just read the Bible or the Quran or the Bhagavad Gita or this and that, and it's just for entertainment, that's great. But you want to take these lessons, bro, and plug them into your daily life. And taking these very higher concepts without the psychological breakdown and understanding of how they actually are, and just trying to shove it into the physical, it's not going to pan out as good as it could. So what's the solution? Psychology. And I believe that all you guys, especially who watch this channel, my second channel, who watch my main channel even, and you like the spiritual content I make, you need to understand the psychological aspects of it to really let it marinate and just stir up in your mind, so you can really take everything is for what it is. Like, you can really look at things for not just, okay, maybe these are all allegories or metaphors. Like, they could be, but what if they're allegories and metaphors for your own psyche? Then we really talking. Then we really cooking with some gas. Like, that's when the real understanding comes from, because a lot of these stories of angels and demons and this and that and just your consciousness expanding are all metaphors for the human mind, because the human mind is what we perceive everything from. The spirit is the person acting upon it, whether you know it consciously or not. But this is for the time being that you're still on this physical realm. The mind is projecting it, and your physical senses are what is your basically your tools to understand. You got to get to work, bro, because you can get very deep into spirituality and very deep into analytics, mind, but to really bring it back into the body, the temple, what really grounds you in this realm of reality, it's got to come all together. That's what I try to promote with this channel. That's what I try to promote with this brand. Having a fit mind, a fit body, and a fit soul. Without one of the two, you'll be all right. You'll be all right. Like, you're gonna be so bad off. Some people don't even got one of them, but you're not gonna be at your elite level of elevation. So that is some sauce I got to drop to you guys today. I don't know, this topic just came in my mind, and I think it's really profound and powerful once you actually start to see the links in between the physical, the psychological, the mental, and the spiritual. Because the spiritual can get very deep. It gets into other higher metaphysical realms, astral realms, like your different states of consciousness. But what really brings it all together is the understanding of the mind. The mind is Like, if you really want to bring it into like even biological senses, we have the mind. We have the more advanced mind out of the animal kingdom, and out of all the animals, we're closer to spirit or God or higher beings than a dog, a cat, a walrus. I don't know why the fuck that animal just came in my mind. Like, we're closer to that, but we still have the animal instinct within us, the body, and the mind is what's going to connect those two together. So the way we get into more of the spirit is by less of listening to the body, more understanding the mind, and more becoming aware to the signals coming into the mind from the spirit. Because the mind takes signals from the body, like I just said. Okay, if I grab this thing, I'm feeling it. These are all signals from my physical body going up into my brain, being interpreted. Hey man, that's a piece of flour, whatever the hell it was. But it also takes things from the spiritual, your intuition, all these things into your mind and interprets that. If you don't understand the psychology though, you can understand the base level logical stuff of like, okay, touch, taste, smell, this and that. But the other higher dimensional things kind of make you have to use higher dimensions of thinking, higher dimensions of psychology instead of base level stuff to actually grasp it, if that makes sense. So if you're picking up what I'm putting down, man, that's what I got for you guys today. It's been your boy out here, What the Fulati, in the field, in the flesh, dropping y'all that game so you guys can make these gains. And I'm out of here. Peace.